Another episode of GalaxyCon Live, where we are bringing the convention experience directly to you. And today we are revisiting Steven Spielberg's beloved 1982 film, E.T. The Extraterrestrial, with 4 amazing members of the cast. And now's the time for all of you in our chat room to begin typing in your questions for them. Immediately after this session, you will have the opportunity to talk to them directly through our private chat options, as well as shop our selection of personalized autographs, all of which are available now at GalaxyCon.com. So without further ado, let's grab our bag of Reese's Pieces and bring them out. Our first guest is an actor, director, and former rodeo performer whose body of work includes The Outsiders, The Hitcher, and Red Dawn. Today joins us to discuss the role of one of Michael's dirt biking D&D buddies, Tyler. Please welcome C. Thomas Howell.
Everybody.
Hey, boss, how are you doing?
I'm great.
Ooh, you're a little fading in and out there. Yeah, I got a little bit of a delay. I'll tell you what, Tom, why don't you do this? Why don't you log out, log back in again? Sometimes that'll reset it, and I'll go on our next test. We'll see you back in a minute. Awesome. All right. He'll be back. Don't worry. Our next guest is an actor whose credits include Frankenstein vs. the Mummy, Laugh, Killer Laugh, and I Am the Cheese. Today joins us to discuss the role of the health food hating oldest brother, Michael. Please welcome Robert Mcnaughton.
I'm actually Tom. I just logged out and logged back in. Does it sound okay?
Oh, okay. Yeah, good. Hey, you look great. How you doing?
Thanks.
And you brought the birds in. That was fantastic. I am.
Yeah,
good.
you might see some flying around here.
No problem. Michael, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I am great. I am great. And it's just real quick. I just want to throw this out there. I was and remain a big fan of The Electric Grandmother.
Oh my gosh, that's I don't hear that very often. That was pre-ET.
It was
right before
yes.
ET. Mm-hmm. And it's funny because my wife, who I'm currently married to, Bianca Hunter, she actually, we didn't learn this till much later, but she actually tried out for the role of my sister in that film.
Really?
Yeah, she didn't do a lot as a child. She's an actress that was in Bad Lieutenant and The Fighter and a lot of other movies. But but I found out later that she had actually auditioned for the part of my sister. So we almost played brother and sister, which is really...
Oh, well, that's fantastic. And if anybody doesn't know what it is, Electric Grandmother, based on the Ray Bradbury short story, I Sing the Body Electric. It's a wonderful, soft film about a family who, about a widower, and a mysterious company creates electric robot grandmothers, and come on in, and it's a delight.
Ed Herman played my father, who was just such a wonderful actor. And Maureen Stapleton was the grandmother.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So she had some stories.
Oh, I'll bet. Sometimes, if we have a chance to go one-on-one, I'd love to hear some of that. But in the meantime, though, we're here to talk about E.T., and let's bring out our next guest, because she is an actress whose credits include The Hills Have Eyes, Cujo, and Just Add Magic. Today, she joins us to discuss the role of Mary, the beleaguered single mother. Please welcome Dee Wallace.
Hi, everybody.
Hey.
Hi, Mom.
Hi, son. I love you.
I love you so much.
Oh, Dee, how are you?
I'm just great. I'm just really, really great. I'm working and happy and healthy and blessed. I'm good.
All those things, you're doing great, and great is the new awesome in these crazy times of ours.
For sure. I just get up every day and go, okay, there's a lot of limitations, but what can I create anyway? And let's go.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, Dee, so glad to have you here. I am a huge fan of your body of work. The Howling, of course, 'cause I'm a big Joe Dante fan, and that film still holds up tremendously. When I saw it as a kid, I thought it was all on horror. When I revisited it as an adult, I was like, there's a lot of humor in here I didn't catch as a kid because I was too busy looking at
lots of humor, and actually a lot of that Joe paid for himself, because the studio didn't want to cough up a lot of money for like all the old clips.
Oh, yeah.
Of the TV clips and stuff, which really raises the movie up a lot. But, you know, Joe just has an amazing sense of humor anyway, so.
Cool, absolutely. Well, once again, thank you for joining us. I think Tom is hey, boss, how are we doing now?
I think I still have a delay, guys.
You got a little bit,
good.
But it's not as bad as it was previously, so I think we're good.
Okay.
Say something.
You're delayed
Thomas.
on me, but I'm here and I'm happy.
That's fine. You're here. You're good.
How's everybody doing? Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely. We're good on our end. Everybody else is right here. Just real quick. I absolutely loved you in Return of the Musketeers, the sequel to the 3 and 4 Musketeers, one of my all-time favorites. And that doesn't get talked about a lot when people interview you. And I just want to say thank you for that.
Well, that's going way back, but thank you. Yeah, that was an amazing experience. I mean, those guys, Michael York and Oliver Reed. I played Oliver Reed's son, and Richard Chamberlain. It was an amazing experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And I assume you filmed overseas.
Yeah, we were in Spain. I was there for like 4 months. Philippe Noiret. It was a great experience. Yeah. It really was. I was like 21 years old. I was just a kid and just surrounded by these, amazing actors and soaking it up and learning everything I could.
You got to work with amazing actors, ride horses, and use swords. That's the perfect gig, in my opinion.
Exactly right.
Thank you for joining us today, boss. So glad to have you here. And speaking of great actors,
thank you guys. I'm so happy to be here.
Our next guest is an actor and musician whose body of work includes Cloak and Dagger, The Haunting of Hill House, and Moby Dick. Today, he joins us to discuss his performance as Elliott, or as my generation learned to pronounce it, Elliott. Please welcome Henry Thomas.
Hi. Hey, everybody.
Hey, Henry.
Henry, thank you for joining us. How are you?
I'm doing all right. How are you guys?
Oh, I'm all good on my end. Looks like everybody else is. Tommy's got a little delay, but we'll do it. And I'll just throw this out here. I want to see more of you as Dr. Midnight, and I hope I get that opportunity.
Oh, well, I'm sorry to disappoint you, but that won't happen. But yeah, I was just a first season run on that. Oh,
Hello.
Accident.
It's all right. It's all right. We got a lovely view of your wicker. It's all good.
That's good.
I have to say,
you missed the
feeling
tea-spilling on my lap, so that's good.
I'm so technically challenged that I'm feeling a lot better now with these young kids screwing up a little.
Well, it's all good. Well, gentlemen and lady, once again, thank you for joining us today. As always, we at GalaxyCon, we look forward to the day when we can get you back on our physical stages and get you all back in front of your fans. Yeah. In the meantime, we're so glad to have you here on the GalaxyCon virtual stage. And I'll just throw this out here because our team right now is going through the chat room questions. I'm sure I have a lot of them. Just what's become a treasured memory from being a part of it for each of you?
I'll go first. For me, it's all the stories that I hear at the cons and personal appearances, how this film has touched people's lives, changed their lives, made their lives better, how that's been passed down from grandparents to parents to kids. I think my favorite story was a woman who came up to me and told me about her autistic son, and she had never heard him speak in 10 years. And she took him to see the re-release. And on the way home, he started saying all of E.T.'s lines. First time in 10 years she had ever heard her son speak. So, it says a lot about this movie and how it transcends from heart to heart.
Easily. Very nice. Who's got another?
For me, it's getting to be around the people that I only spent 3 months filming ET, but then I spent so much time with Dee and Henry and Tommy, and recently doing the conventions, and that's been so special that I've gotten to know them more than I ever did during the filming. And because we were, if we weren't filming, we were in school, so it was like. I got to know Henry pretty well because we were in school together a lot, but the others I didn't get to know till later.
Fair.
There was a certain quality to, unlike anything else, at least for me. I haven't done very many Steven Spielberg movies, but there was a specialness. There was a very high security aspect to the whole thing. It was very heavily guarded. I mean, scripts were guarded, stories were guarded. You know, you had to have badges with pictures on them. It was a very different experience, and it felt special, but there was a wholesome quality to the process that didn't make it different. It just felt so comfortable. So it was a phenomenal thing to see and be a part of, and then to watch what happened. And it was amazing.
Fair. Henry, how about you?
Yeah, it's interesting because, like Robert said, you know, we were only there for 3 months. The film's been around for the rest of our lives since then, and
beyond.
And it's interesting. The other day, beyond. I saw a picture that someone posted on social media. It was a picture of all of us back in 1981 in the schoolhouse, and I had forgotten some of the people who were in there with us, you know, besides the regular cast members, but there were the stand-ins and our stunt, you know, our stunt doubles, and our the bike guys were in there for a little bit.
The ET players.
Yeah, the ET. It was a real experience. Yeah, but also it's interesting because those little things that you forget about when you're reminded of them, they kind of inform the whole experience, and you realize, like, oh yeah, that was my life for a couple of months, and that part's gone, but now it's replaced with this convention circuit, and we can hang out and reminisce. And I've always enjoyed these panels because you get to hear everybody else's stories, and you know, like I hadn't heard a lot of Tommy's stories until we started doing the conventions circuit, and it really fills up the rest of the experience, because I was only 10 at the time, and you know, all my memories are 10-year-old boy memories, you know, like, oh yeah. Wow, I have a 30-minute break and I don't have to go to school and I can go ride my bike. You know, those don't make for very interesting conversations at these panels, I don't think.
I'm sorry that Matt Demerit can't be with us, because he's such a special guy. Yeah. And he was so much a part of our experience of ET. He was the one who actually played in the ET costume primarily. Yeah. And he was such a, I mean, he is a special guy. For some reason, he couldn't do the Q&A or the convention, but he had his most good-natured person, one of the most good-natured people I've ever met.
You guys were really tight too, all of you. I was 14 and he was 12 and Henry was 10. The other Tom was my age, and Casey Martell and Sean Fry. Yeah. We were all around the same age. You know, Casey was my banker for a long time.
Drew was like 6 or 7.
That's crazy.
How weird is that?
You trusted him with your money.
Yeah, go figure.
He's the only one that's smartened up. Well, I guess Robert did.
Yeah, I think he did the best out of all of us.
I know, exactly.
Yeah.
But to speak to Tommy's thing, I literally had to go over to the studio behind locked doors and read the script.
Wow.
That's how secretive it was. And it was called A Boy's Life, right, guys? When we were shooting it. I guess it's still going on, but back in the day, people were really ripping stories from each other and leaking stories and all that stuff. So I called my agent and I said, you know, I don't think this film's going to do a lot for me, but I think it's going to do a lot for the world. And I definitely want to be a part of this film. Not a real blonde. Okay.
It's funny. It took me until I became a parent myself to really appreciate Dee's performance in the film.
Oh,
I think, you know, it started hitting me every single time I watched it. Both my wife and I were just so impressed with her performance in that, and in Cujo also.
So,
and it's once you're a parent, you sort of realize she really captures the and her acting so good.
Thank you, Rob.
Because I thought about it actually, because my father's ex, and
you're
Tommy.
Yeah, you're clipping in and out again.
Bring back from the monitor and see if that's better. Does it sound any better then? Talk.
I don't know.
It's a delay.
Yeah, I got the audio again. Oh.
Oh, so
he'll be back. He'll be back. We got this before, but I absolutely agree with it. I think I've always thought that the movie's magic is in its incredible honesty of the characters. You know, Drew acts and is written exactly as a kid of that age. Okay, Henry and Michael's characters are written as kids of their age. And yeah, when I got a little older and I had a single mom, I suddenly realized, oh my God, she's exactly the same way that my mom did. And when my dad was around, I think my dad said the best thing when we all saw the movie as a family. He was not a guy that liked the fantastical, but just sit in the car, he's like, you know why I like that movie? The kids talk like real kids.
Yeah, I think that's really one of Steven's strong points. I mean, even with Drew, you know, there's an art to directing kids, and I never thought of Robert and Henry as a kid. They were like old souls in younger bodies to me. They were so present in there. But Drew, I mean, Steven would go, okay, Drew, now take a bite of your hamburger and look at Henry and then look at Dee and then say blah, blah, blah. You know, now pick your nose and look at Robert. And so he would keep her very alive that way and in the moment that way. And I think he got some really awesome. Do you remember that, you guys, at the dinner table?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah.
And
that was a scene that took, I think, 2 days. That was probably the longest scene we filmed in the film, I think.
Gosh, I don't remember that.
Sitting around the
that was because we had a technical issue. The mics were all in the shot. The sound department got fired and replaced because of that.
How do you remember that? And
you remember that?
I don't have a clue about that.
I know.
But I remember.
Yeah, the mics. They planted mics on the pendant, and they were in every shot. So we had to.
Oh my God!
Had to do it all again.
Like no memory of that. Woo!
Spielberg didn't see that when they were doing it. Wow.
Yeah.
He must have been. He must have been looking at Poltergeist dailies.
They were focused. They were more focusing on the hamburger on Drew's fork, how it kept growing and shrinking, and
exactly. Yeah.
Do you remember the scene when Henry, when you look at me and say he's in Sally with Mexico? I wasn't supposed to get all kerfluffed and leave the table, but it hit me so hard when you said that. And I remember thinking, I don't want the kids to see me cry. So I got up and left. And Steven comes over to me afterwards. Why the hell did you do that? What happened? And I told him what happened. And in that minute, do you guys remember that he turned around and had them build a whole wall with the sink in it?
Yes,
do a separate shot.
With the same effect.
Take me over to the sink and then bring me into that big close-up where I say he hates Mexico. Like that. It just, he saw a moment and expanded on it. And for me, that's a sign of a really great director.
Yeah.
And you've worked with plenty.
I have been fortunate to work with a lot of amazing directors. Yeah.
Indeed. So
a lot of us have.
Tom, how you doing? You good?
Oh.
Well, I can't hear you, but I can read your lips. There you go. No, we can't hear you at all. Not even a delay. Okay.
Maybe you should message if he's on mute. He's not on mute, is he?
Our producer technical team is talking to him.
Delay.
So yeah, so I think they'll try to muscle way through. In the meantime, we've also got audience questions good to go. So let's go ahead and roll our first one, and Tommy will just jump in when he joins us. And our first one comes from Emilia, and she wants to know, what was your favorite behind the scenes moment from filming ET?
Oh, wow.
For me, it was Halloween in 81, and everyone dressed up. And so we had a kind of a Halloween day on set, and that's really fun for me as a kid.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And that wasn't the scene in the film that takes place on Halloween is not the scene that, or not the day that Henry's talking about. It was a separate day where everybody dressed up for Halloween, including Steven filmed the whole day dressed as like an older Jewish lady with she had basically ET's costume from the film.
ET's costume for Halloween.
When Gertie dresses ET up as an old lady.
Yeah, all the Halloween stuff was a lot of fun, but my favorite was sitting with Drew when ET is spying on us through the closet, and I'm reading Peter Pan to her, and it was just like sitting there with my own little girl. We got so into it, and she would start asking me questions about Peter Pan and oh, can I fly? And it was just, I didn't have my daughter yet, and she was a thought in my mind, so it was a real touching scene for me to do.
Nice. Very nice. All right. Amelia, thank you. Who's got him? We think Tom will show up. I think we're still working on him. So, all right. Tell you what, let's we'll go ahead and get back to that. Unless anybody else got anything else, a second favorite behind the scene you want to throw in real quick.
Well, does everybody remember when one of the little people caught fire?
No, I don't think I was there for that.
Should I not bring that up?
What was it?
No, I was just so amazingly impressed. Everybody froze. I mean, it was a little, the costume had little sparks and stuff.
Yeah.
Everybody just froze. And Steven threw himself on top of the kid and put it out. You guys remember that? Nobody else remembers that?
Wow.
Were we on the same film?
I must have been in school.
Maybe it was a scene that y'all weren't in.
Dee, did something, the actor that they hired to play your husband, just basically for the pictures in the house, there was an actor who was, in the pictures where he was playing your husband. I had heard something happen to him as well. There was like a light exploded, or
I don't know about that one.
Okay.
I didn't know about that one.
Indeed.
So every set has stuff that, dear God, I could go on for an hour about what happened on Cujo. Every set has little things, that somebody has to save.
I believe you got a record saying you never want to be in another Pinto as long as you live.
Yeah, that's for sure. For sure.
Tom, how we doing?
That.
Oh,
so
yeah, we can see you. We can see you perfectly clear now with no delay, and we can't hear you at all. Maybe we can try to reverse it. I'd rather sacrifice his picture if we could hear him. How's that? No? I'll tell you what, keep tinkering with it. Our private chat, our tech will try to work way through it. But all right, Amelia, thank you. That was a wonderful question. Let's go ahead and roll another one. And this is going to come from Jean. Has anyone ever experienced the ET attraction at Universal?
Of course. Of course I have. I think I did. I went in and did a promo or voiceover or something for it when it first opened. And I think I was there for the opening day. Weren't you guys there for the opening day of that?
I think if I'm not mistaken, we were there with you.
Yeah.
And we were there when the ET ride was opening, but they'd also just opened the Jurassic Park, which was like a thrill ride. And Henry and I were both teenagers, and they gave us the option of doing one ride. We only had time to do one ride, and we both chose the Jurassic Park ride.
Of course.
Because it was like a thrill ride.
Yeah, but it was a beautiful ride.
But I haven't
Orlando,
ET
but
ride.
it's not open here anymore in California.
There is one in Orlando, but we when we were in Orlando, we didn't have time, unfortunately, to go over there. I don't know if it's open now.
I went to the Orlando one. I went to the Orlando one like in 1991 or something, and rode on that. But Dee, we did that. I thought it was the opening of Universal Studios Orlando.
Maybe you could try
we went down there and opened it, and
Did you?
I've lost Dee in Dee's audio. I can't hear Dee.
What about me? Can you hear me now?
I can hear
you.
I can hear you. I can hear Robert.
Okay, cool.
You can't hear me?
I can hear you, Dee.
All right, Rick, I'm in for the moment.
Well,
I can hear you fine, Dee.
All right. Shout out. Everybody can hear Robert, correct? Robert, say something.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello.
All right. Dee, say something.
hello.
Henry, can you hear her? No?
I can
Dee.
hear Dee.
No.
Yeah, everybody can hear Tommy?
Can you hear me? Anybody?
I can hear you fine.
Yes.
And
So I had to lose
we
the
can hear
audio.
Henry, but for some reason, Henry can't hear Dee.
He's tuning Mom out. That's what it is.
I think maybe our servers are routing through Texas. I'm sorry. Oh my goodness. Well, Henry, it might help if you popped out and popped back in again. That might reset you because I think it might be on your end.
Okay.
So
Okay,
why don't you
I'll
go
do
ahead?
it.
Why don't you go ahead and try that. And Tommy, catch up real quick.
Yeah.
Have you ever ridden the ET ride at Universal?
A long time ago, yeah.
Okay.
Super cool.
All right. And Amelia had a previous question. What was your favorite behind-the-scenes moment while filming ET?
My favorite behind-the-scenes moment? Well, listen, there were so many. There were. I'd have to say, honestly, sort of, we were so young, so making the movie was really secondary to everything that was happening on the set. I mean, it was literally like a carnival environment, from video games to bicycles to, little people and things that you'd never seen at the ages that we were. So it was, puppetry and extraterrestrials and literally mind-blowing visuals as a 13, 14-year-old kid. I hadn't experienced anything like that. So there were so many memorable moments for me that are indelibly marked in my brain. But the thing that I'm most grateful for, and I would say other than the relationships, because here we are many years later, and somehow Dee's the only one not aging.
I know.
But
It's not fair.
Baby.
I honestly really appreciate the work, the friendships that we made, and having come from that place. I had a small role, but that's where I started, and I'm a lifer in this business. So it really means a lot to me that I came from that project and learned what I learned by watching people. And that's what I was going to say. I have a history with Dee that goes back. My father worked with Dee. My father's a stunt coordinator and was a very, very prominent stunt coordinator. And he worked on Cujo and worked on many films with Dee. And I knew Dee's husband, and I knew them off the set in a different way. And I really looked up to Dee as an artist and as an actress, and saw her in multiple situations other than just ET that I really respected. And so to go through that as a young person, you know, when you pull someone in your life, like Dee and I worked together when I was young and she was young, and I saw her on many sets afterwards, and I see her now, and I see these guys now at different places around the country, and we forged those bonds and those friendships, and it's an amazing thing. It's special.
Yes.
Awesome.
I agree.
Henry, did you hear Dee?
Sweet words, Tommy.
I did hear Dee. And I heard Tommy.
All right. Hey, we are up to full strength. Fantastic. All right, Amelia, you got your answer, and Gene, you got yours. So let's go ahead and fresh up. Let's roll another one. And this comes from #1 Trek fans, Lisa. She comes to many of our Q&As here. What scene was the hardest to film?
Well, for me, physically hardest was there's a scene in the film when E.T.'s sick and he's down in the creek. And just in terms of like a hard scene, it was raining. We were up in Northern California, and it was really raining and cold, and they had animals in the scene. So the animals weren't cooperating, the raccoons or whatever. And
damn them.
E.T. was doing a great job.
You got to watch those raccoons. I worked with a raccoon once in The Outsiders, and that son of a gun gave me the hardest time.
They are the hardest animal to work with, I think. But it just like we kept doing it over, and they had about 10 costume changes for me, and every time I just get soaking wet, going down in the creek, changing costume, doing it again, and it just physically that was the hardest.
Yeah.
And then Robert quit the business.
And then it drove me that stupid raccoon.
I'm sorry, brother. We're so sorry about that.
It's a shame.
If you hire McNaughton, you can't have any raccoons on the set.
No.
It's a waiver in the contract.
It's in his contract. Who's got another one?
Well, I think for me, the hardest film was the scene when E.T. came in to leave the Reese's Pieces on my bed. Of course, I'm just laying there asleep, but there was much discussion before we shot that scene because Mr. Spielberg thought the sheet should be much lower on Mary, and then
he was probably right.
Then Miss Wallace thought it should be.
I'm just saying.
And so there was, I wouldn't say heated discussion, but a lengthy discussion. And Melissa Mathison, our beautiful writer, and Kathy Kennedy, our producer, came in. And I said, guys, this is a family film. It's one thing to have people smoking joints and poltergeist. It's a different kind of film, but this film it's a family experience. It's a heart film. And ultimately, we compromised by raising the sheet from right above my crack to the middle of my back. Oh, I made a rhyme, didn't I?
Yeah.
So because usually most of the scenes we would just walk on and Steven would say, this is...
That probably, even if you would have shot it that way, Dee, it probably wouldn't have even made the cut at the end because it's just not right. It doesn't work in the movie.
But we all know that...
It might have made his reel. I don't
we
know.
all know that you don't shoot something that you really don't want to give them a chance to put in the film.
Because I use it.
Right?
Yeah, you gotta play it smart, right, Dean?
What?
Speaking as one of the 14-year-olds, you know, in the production, I know that we were all eager to go watch that scene be filmed. We were trying to work out ways to get out of school, and
here I thought the raciest thing was when one of Robert's buddies tries to touch Dee's butt at the beginning. Hey, it's my mom.
Yeah.
That was Tom.
Yeah.
Was it Tom?
Not in the script. Not in the script.
What do you mean? Of course it was me. I've been trying to touch Dee's butt my entire life.
All right.
Crazy. Henry, how about you? What was the hardest?
I think the whole, you know, government coming in, medical experiment thing was pretty tough for me, because I was in a lot of that, and it was kind of emotional and chaotic, so that was difficult.
Took a long time
for me,
to
because
shoot that too.
it took a long time, yeah. And it was, you know, it was a lot of bits and pieces, and when you're 10 or 11, you lose interest in that stuff,
and there was a lot
quickly.
of right, and there was a ton of prop stuff, and like it was difficult.
Yeah,
plastic bubbles and tubes, and
all the CBR stuff. And
you had to rip all that stuff off his chest.
I remember it was interesting for me as
an
actor.
It was
I had a different part, but watching Henry work at that level, because there was a scene where I remember we were in the studio and you had to be emotional, and you were going out to the swing set by yourself to prep, Henry. And I'd never seen anybody prep, you know, I was still trying to figure out what acting was. And to watch you go spend some quiet time alone and then come back to the set and be kind of grounded and rooted and rip our hearts out was such a special lesson as a young actor to see. I mean, it was amazing. Really
I was just
amazing.
scared. It was 90% fear, Tommy.
But whether you were it didn't matter if, you know, the intention was so pure. It didn't matter who made you do that. I mean, you were a little boy prepping for your work. That's like from San Antonio. How the hell how'd you do that?
See, he's right, Henry. Because, you know, I had done a fair amount of acting by the time I did ET.
Of course.
And with my fair amount of kids, and I never looked at you as a kid. I just looked at you as another professional
performer.
actor.
Yeah, man.
I know,
too, Robert. You too.
Wow.
Thanks. I know the scene that Henry dreaded.
Not me.
Yes, you too. But
Okay.
The scene Henry was dreading the most going into it, and he was very worried, was the scene where he has to kiss Erica.
oh yes.
Because if you think about it in the context of a 10-year-old boy.
I was so scared, and then
Okay, so let's face it, that was the hardest scene for you.
That was at the time. That was the hardest scene for me. But well, because Steven came in one day and he goes, "Oh, this is gonna be great. You're gonna love it. The girl that I got for you to kiss in this scene." And I was thinking immediately. I was like, "Oh my God, I've got to kiss a girl for real, you know, in the scene." And then when I met her, she was like 1.5 feet taller than me and about 1.5 years older. And when you're 10,
beautiful.
You're like, oh God.
That's even more intimidating.
Yeah, and really
Erica
beautiful.
Laniak.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Erica Laniak, yeah.
Yeah, the birds are great.
But,
But afterwards, you know, after years later, you know, everybody's like, "Hey, you kissed Erica Liniak." I was like, "Yeah, scared to death."
And he was also dreading when he had to pull all the stuff off his chest. I remember that was something that was like, and he, you know, he had to do it multiple times, so he had all those electrodes.
I didn't want to rip off all my chest hairs. I've been cultivating. No, but the funny thing about that kissing scene, though, the first take, I like set myself up and I thought, okay, I'm gonna do it, and I grabbed her by the hand and did the whole John Wayne Quiet Man routine, and then I stand on the back, and when I pulled her in to give her the kiss, our front teeth clashed like audibly, like that, and I just thought, oh, you idiot, you ruined it, you know.
Ah, shucks, got another take, I guess.
Exactly.
One traumatic thing for me was there's a scene where I'm backing the car out of the driveway, and they had given me. I was brand new to driving. I was 14, so I wasn't even supposed to be driving. But they were giving me lessons on how to drive the van because they thought I was going to be driving the van in the end. At no point in the lessons, the Teamsters didn't even address the fact that I was going to have to back out. So I had no idea how to operate a car backwards. So it was their fault. But so I actually was doing the scene and I backed into the wall, which wasn't. I thought they were going to kill me because now, you know, I've ruined the car. Not only they can't do another take, and Steven loved it. I mean, I got out of the car thinking he's going to kill me because I wrecked the car.
But that's what I mean. He sees those real moments, you know, and makes something out of them, and you know, that's where a lot of his genius lies, I think.
Yeah,
that and broken mechanical sharks.
True. Tommy, bring us home. What was the most challenging thing for you on the set of ET?
You know what? I probably the audition. You know, just trying to get the job. I came in late. Somebody had already had my role.
Really? I didn't know that.
It was a Mormon kid that had my role, and
I didn't know that.
And for some reason, Steven wanted my character to smoke a cigarette, and it was a big thing that my character smoked. And the mother, I guess, went to Steven and said, "Listen, we have a problem," and they moved on. So anyway, I got the call to go into this meeting, and when I went in, there were 4 kids in front of me, and they all looked identical. They all looked like John Stamos with like gorgeous, like feathered brunette hair and blue eyes, and they were all taller than me. And I looked at my dad, and I was like, "There's no chance in hell I'm going to get this." But my father's quite smart, and before we got there, he stopped by a 7-Eleven and picked up a pack of cigarettes, and he taught me how to light. Well, attempt to light a Marlboro as I was, you know, on my way to this audition. And I remember after all these kids had left, and I sort of sheepishly went into the room, and I was sitting on the stool talking to Steven. And one of the things that was important to him, my father being a stuntman, was that I could maybe ride the bike a little bit, and they could get some shots with me on the bike. And that was important that I could handle that. And also the cigarette thing was sort of an issue. And I'll never forget when he said, "Well, how do you feel about smoking?" And I kind of pulled out this rumpled pack of Marlboros and put one in my mouth that made like an immediate left turn and struck the match like 15 times before he said, "Okay, kid, you got the part." And that was my experience to get the part there, and I was on board. Like Henry kissing Erica Laniak, I was scared to death the whole time. You know?
Fantastic. Lisa, #1 Trek fan, thank you. That was a wonderful question. And GalaxyCon viewers, this has been my time with the cast of ET The Extraterrestrial, but it absolutely does not have to be yours. If you'd like to chat with our guests or purchase a personalized autograph, please head over to GalaxyCon.com. While you're there, be sure to check out our schedule of upcoming events like this one. As you can see, the technical issues have been resolved and our private chats are on a separate platform, so all should be good. So don't lose any confidence on that. Gentlemen and lady, any final words for our audience before we go backstage?
Go see it again.
I just want to say to these people right here, man, I love seeing you guys.
You too.
Passing it down.
Oh, I love seeing you too, man.
Yeah.
We love you.
Love you guys.
Soon, okay?
It's fun to see it at the drive-in. A lot of drive-in movie theaters have been open during the pandemic. And I was in Vermont last summer, and one of the drive-in theaters was playing it. And it was just a real nice way to experience it. No, I just paid. They had Empire Strikes Back with so we had to go.
Very nice. It has been my absolute pleasure to serve you all today. Once again, thank you for joining us. And as a fan of this film, I thank you for your talents. I thank you for professionalism, and I thank you for the performances that you brought to ET. You know, as it was and remains the movie of my generation, which is probably our generation for some people on this panel as well. And I thank you all for that. And thank you for joining us on the GalaxyCon virtual stage. Thank you to our audience for joining us today. And thank you for all your great questions. Hope to see you all again soon. Until then, bye-bye, everyone. Take care. And please keep washing those hands.